Well, good afternoon. We certainly hope you enjoy the easy listening sounds of Hip Jazz by Ben Sound. Welcome to another CVMSDC Virtual Capabilities Briefing with our guest today from Brandilly Creative Group. I'm your host and moderator, VK Fields with the PR Pros team, and we have another engaging session planned for you today with our presenter, Kima Washington. First, some housekeeping rules. As a reminder, all of our audience participant lines are automatically muted. However, if you can submit a question using the question and answer feature in the Zoom dashboard on your screen. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be available for you to review later and share with your colleagues. You also can view the recording from the CVMSDC website at cvmsdc.org/webinars. Now, I am pleased to introduce our CVMSDC President and CEO, Dominique Milton, to open up today's session. Good afternoon, Dominique.
Good afternoon, and thank you, VK, for the introduction. I'm so excited to have the Brandilly team with us today. I'm going to introduce the president to you, and he's going to introduce his team. So today, we have with us Kima Washington, Dr. Kima Washington, who's a native of Philadelphia. Formal background is in public relations from Miller University, and he obtained his doctorate in higher education from North Carolina State University. However, he has been honing his creative and entrepreneurial skills since junior high school, selling Swedish Fish, my absolute favorite candy, and blow pops from his locker, and designing web pages for his friends. While attending Millersville University, when most college kids were still figuring out what they wanted to do, he was designing websites and establishing 6 Degrees enterprises as a junior. This venture proved to not only be successful, but later evolved into 6D Graphics, a full service graphic design and printing company, and 6D Entertainment. He's a serial entrepreneur, folks. 6D Entertainment is a talent booking agency for colleges and universities. Now, fast forward to 2021, Kima currently serves as president and CEO of Brandilly Creative Group. He founded the company in 2009 along with his wife, Brandy Royal Washington, to offer the same comprehensive services you get from the big, shiny agencies with a just as shiny, more cost-effective approach. And while most people connect Kima with Brandilly, he is also partnered with Par 3 Capital, a real estate development company, and Cultured Nalia, where they produce HBCU and Black Greek letterhead. He is a Kappa Alpha Psi, Ski-Wee. And he works with HBCUs, and I went to Spelman College. So just want to let you know, if you have any paraphernalia hidden in your closet, we can work some deals out. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kima, who's going to introduce his team, and they're going to share with you some unique ways in which they are helping companies to brand themselves. Kima, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dominique. I really, really appreciate this opportunity to address the council and all of its members. I've been affiliated with the council now for going on 3 years, and it has truly been an awesome experience for us. A lot of the major contracts that we've been able to win have been a direct result of the work that I've been doing with the council. So thank you so much for everything.
Excellent.
So I have with me today 2 of my partners in crime, Walter Jeanette and Elton Benjamin. Most of you probably know me from Brandilly and what we do in the way of creative services. We do a lot of web development, graphic design. We also have an in-house print shop where we do everything from business cards to banners to billboards. But more recently, with everything that's been going on with COVID, we've started to pivot and shift. And so these 2 gentlemen, again, have been my partners in crime. We're offering a brand new service for us, which is remote streaming services. So if you have a conference or workshop, you're looking to engage with your audience in different ways, we can help you take that to the next level. And so last week, as we were preparing for this VCB, and again, thank you for the opportunity, we actually put together just a short video. We could have done a PowerPoint, but again, you're dealing with 3 creatives, so we wanted to take it to the next level. So we have a video that really walks through what we do, how we do it, and the why behind what we're doing. So I'll go ahead and share that with you now. If you give me one moment to share my desktop. All right, everyone should be seeing my screen, and I'll go ahead and throw myself on mute.
Hi, my name is Walter Jeanette, and I am the Chief Virtual Experience Engineer for the firm. Our goal is simple. We want to help you get a grip not just on your media, not just on your branding, not just on your marketing, but we want to help you get a grip on your audience. This pandemic has forced many different industries, whether from a corporate standpoint or whether from a faith-based standpoint, or a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs have forced them to pivot into going virtual. We see the complete decline of brick and mortar and in-person events. And even with the rise of the vaccine and booster shots and those things that will continue to come forth, the advancements in science and medicine, we still can expect that social distancing is here to stay. Now, on the plus side of that, you all can tell that you've probably saved a lot of money by actually doing virtual events instead of in-person events. The difficulty, however, is that you don't get to replicate that same level of fellowship, that same level of camaraderie, that same level, that same feeling you get just from seeing someone you haven't seen in a long time, or getting to shake the hand of someone that you're meeting for the first time. And that's where we come in. We don't just want to take your Zoom to the next level by creating fancy, green screen backdrops for you, but we want to create an entirely new experience to where even though you're not in person, you can still feel right at home. You can still feel like you're able to engage with the speakers, and that you're able to engage with your fellow colleagues and your fellow peers. So we want to help you get a grip on your audience's retention, on your audience's expectation. And we see that's what the difficulty really is, whether you're using Zoom, whether you're using something like Google Hangouts, whether you're using something like Microsoft Teams. That's where we come in and say, hey, let us take over, not because we want to be in control, but let us help you, help us help you, so that we can keep retention, so that we can say, hey, I'm used to going to Zoom meetings. I'm used to going to meetings and Teams. I'm used to having, Microsoft Hangouts, Google Meets, WebEx meetings, but I've never experienced anything like that, all right? So I just want to give you a brief look into potentially what this could look like. So when we open up, you actually saw what could potentially be the home screen for the conference that you have upcoming in December, your Re-emerge conference, all right? And so right off the gate, we just wanted to show you exactly how just graphically we can go ahead and take that to the next level. Well, let's just say, you see, I'm pretty dapper. I have on my jacket, and like most people in this setting are going to be, my background may be just, I have a lot going on, as an entrepreneur, as a YouTuber, as a content creator, and sometimes those things can be distracting. But one of the things we like to do is not only enhance the look, but make sure we can incorporate all the elements of your brand, so there's not just consistency from the flyer and any of the emails and marketing, materials and correspondence that went out, but that thing carries over when they actually get online, all right? So we go from this and we take your experience to something like this. Now, this right here is a totally different feel. Just immediately, just by adding in the overlays, just by bringing in some music, we are able to take that experience to the next level. So you're not just watching another video. You're not just watching another Zoom presentation. You're not just inside another boring Google Meet, but you can say, hey, oh my God, those are the colors for the company. Look at the branding for the company. Look at the sponsors. We have the information that we need to see there. And it looks good. It makes you, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, there's a great chance that your presentation is going to be that much better, all right? And so a couple of other things I wanted to show you. Right now, let's pretend I'm on screen by myself and I'm talking at the conference, and I want to bring the music down just a little bit. So, hey, if it gets too loud, we can bring it down. If you say, hey, I want to hear more, we can bring it back up, all right? All right, so let's say, I have somebody else that I actually want to talk to. We have the ability to do that. So we bring in, hey, you still see me, and I'm able to bring in a guest, whether inside of this system, whether inside of something like Skype, whether inside of something like Zoom. I can bring in a guest, we can have a conversation, and we can have multiple people on screen at the same time. Let's say it needs to go back to me, but let's say there's some very important information, like in a PowerPoint presentation, that I need to talk to you about, all right? We can actually go here. All right, and so now you're still getting an opportunity to see me on screen, but you see my PowerPoint presentation here. And like I say, and we're able to control all of that, and make sure we take care of that. This is a recent PowerPoint presentation from one of the conferences that I had an opportunity to do, exactly what I'm doing now. But let's go back to me, and let's say, hey, Walter, we saw, the banner when we came on and everything looked great, but can we take that to another level? Absolutely. I want to show you potentially what your customers could see when they actually enter into your conference. Let's take a look here. All right, so again, that's a very quick look, potentially what that countdown could look like. Something just very simple, very, very streamlined, but still very effective to say, hey, stream is getting ready to start. You can see all the information here that you need to see. This is the time it's going to start, and a little bit of music to liven up the mood. A recent conference we had the opportunity to do with the CDC prevention team in combination with AIDS United. I'm actually going to show you a couple of reference videos. I'm going to show you what their pre-show video looks like. All right, and then I'm going to actually show you a couple of recorded videos, including a panel, so you can actually raise the expectation of what your conference could potentially look like this December. All right, let's take a look at that.
Welcome to Condom Distribution as a Structural Intervention, Midwest Virtual Institute, brought to you by AIDS United as a part of the CVA Provider Network, supported by Cooperative Agreement number PS 19-1904 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Meet your facilitators, Carson Beckwith, Teresa Betzigi, and Marilyn Ricker-Cases. Meet your speakers, Heather Alberta, Samantha Hughes, Natalia Torres Negron, and Tamika White. Please review the Zoom manual located in the FAQ section of the Event Hub for helpful Zoom tips and frequently asked questions.
And that is that we are going to go through and review the 4 Ps. Like I said, we love a little alliteration for the 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. We're going to review how they are an integral part of the promotional framework for condom distribution programs specifically. We're going to look at them both generally and also how they apply to our own work.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very excited for this panel. I'm very excited to be chatting with Heather and Marilyn, and Heather needs no introduction, but as a reminder, she is a sexual educator from the Ottawa County Department of Public Health.
All right, so again, I hope that gives you an idea of the level you can expect. Again, whether it's from a corporate standpoint, whether it's from a faith-based initiative, nonprofit, for-profit, even if you say, hey, I just want to throw a company event, we want to rally the troops, we want to boost engagement, we want to boost encouragement and inspiration, because we understand everybody has kind of been down. We want to bring in a DJ and we kind of want to have, a virtual Zoom party. We can do that as well. So again, we want to help you not just get a grip on your brand, get a grip on your marketing, get a grip on your media, but we want to help you get a grip on your client's expectation, on your customers' retention, because we understand when you have to sit on an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour meeting, it can be really taxing. But again, that's where we come into play. That's what we're here to do. And I hope you have a very good reference point for what we're able to do for you. So thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, so there you were able to see a little bit about what we're able to offer with the remote live streaming management services. Again, as Walter was saying, really taking live events, your Zoom meetings, Skype meetings, Google Hangouts to the next level. So thank you for the opportunity to present that. Hopefully that was a little bit easier than sitting through 40 PowerPoint slides.
That was so much easier. And thank you so much, Walter. Great job. We've all had to make that major pivot. And it's refreshing to see the niche that you're creating here, because it's all in production, right? And that's what's going to set everybody apart, is the production of your event and keep everybody's attention. So thank you for that. Now, I'll be transparent and say that I've been wanting a virtual world for a long time before we went into COVID. I kept saying, we don't have to go to all of these meetings. I don't have to drive 7 hours for a 1 hour meeting. It is just not necessary. No one was listening, right? So, now here we are, and we've all made this pivot. Yes, I do want to get back to hugging and seeing people in person, but I am happy that we're going to still remain in some form of virtuality for some of our events moving forward. Talk to me about how you convert a live event into a virtual event, a planned live event into a virtual.
Hey, can you all hear me?
We can.
All right. So Good afternoon, everyone.
A
Again,
little
my
bit
name
louder.
is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So again, hopefully everyone can hear me again. Nice to meet you. My name is Walter. Jeanette. In reference to your question, Dominique, it is a great one. As far as converting live events into virtual events, first we really have to understand what the need is and what the scope of work is going to be, because everybody has a different need. And so some people, some of the things I mentioned in the video, it may just be a simple meeting to say, hey, we're having a 1 or 2 hour or maybe even a 30-minute meeting in something like Zoom, or in something in like, AirMeet, Skype, Google Meet, whatever the platform is that you use in WebEx. And we just want to kind of take that production level to the next, to another level, just to kind of, keep the retention, keep people excited to say, oh, there's another meeting we have to go to. Or you may have to do a virtual summit that may span over 2, 3, 4 days or an entire week. So once we actually find out what the need is, which is a lot of pre-planning goes into that. Then we can determine what platform actually works best, because we understand that while Zoom is probably going to be the most familiar with most people, there are some other platforms that exist that gives your audience a much better experience and a much better grasp. And so there will be a lot of back and forth, a lot of talking just to figure out, okay, what do you want the customer experience to be? And we're huge on that, because we understand there's a speaker or a facilitator experience, but we really more so try to get you guys to pivot to what's going to be best for the people who are watching and the people who are attending. Because while Zoom may be best for the speaker, it may not necessarily be best for the participant. And so if we can really understand how we want to cultivate, how we want to really capture that experience, then once we get into the pre-planning process and we talk about, okay, how do we get all the hosts together? Where do they need to be visually and aesthetically? What are some of the things that we need to bring in, from a management standpoint? Registration, any presentations that you guys, need to make. Is that something that we need to do, or are you more comfortable doing that? There's a lot of back and forth on the front end, and so that's pretty much, I don't want to scare anybody off and say it's an extensive experience, but it definitely is a lot of information that goes into that. So there's a lot of planning, and just to figure out what the scope of work is to make that conversion, because the conversion can be made. Plenty of people are doing it. We've had an opportunity to do something. So we're just trying to get everybody else to kind of jump on that wave and make that pivot as well.
Excellent. So it sounds like it's a customized approach, right? So you're going to meet with each client and have a meeting to discuss what their vision is and then build from there.
That is correct.
We converted.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say you're absolutely correct. Everything is custom and tailor made specifically to your experience, because if we get an opportunity to work with Lenovo tomorrow, versus, GMC the next day, their experiences or their need is going to be totally different. Or if you're working with the faith community, their need is going to be totally different. So we like to make sure we're tailoring that specific to what the need is of your customer base or your audience.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah, we had to pivot to everything went virtual for us, and we're an event organization, so we took everything virtual in 2020.
Gotcha.
So talk to us, the audience, about why virtual is sometimes better than face-to-face. What are the benefits of being virtual, so our audience can understand how we need to be changing our mindset, change a paradigm to embrace virtual, not just in a pandemic type situation?
Kima, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak to that. I think there's some obvious benefits, right? You mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. You don't have to get in your car or catch a flight to go somewhere and sit in a 2-hour meeting and then have to fight traffic to catch another flight back home. So obviously it's a little bit, it's a more convenient way of hosting meetings. Then there are the very real cost savings, right? You don't have to book a conference center or a hotel and spend $11,000 on dry chicken because you're forced to go through their catering staff. But I think beyond that, what we are starting to see from a user experience is that not only is it more convenient, not only is it's a much more cost efficient way of hosting meetings, but just the overall experience for everyone is it can be better, right? Now, again, we've all been on Zoom calls and meetings that take forever. It really seems like very little pre-planning went into that process. And so there might be some disconnect between the person that's on the screen talking to you versus me sitting here and my 4-year-old is running around in the background. But, you know, to Walter's point earlier, the more work that we could put in on the front end and really thinking about the experience of the person who's watching on the screen, it's just gonna work better. And in terms of ROI, you're gonna get more bang for your buck.
Okay, excellent. Let's talk about the bandwidth that you have. Right. So, you know, we have some users who our conferences are 200, 300 people. What is your capacity in terms of putting on a conference?
So I'll speak to that. In terms of capacity, the most recent conference that I had an opportunity to work on, roughly about 600 participants. And we had about a 95, 96% registration rate. So roughly about 600 participants. It was in a platform called Hopin. Hopin is a virtual platform that is catered to events of that size, because it's made to model what it's like going to maybe like a trade show style event. So if you're going to something in person, there's going to be a reception area, there's going to be a lobby area, you may like say there is a tech conference and you have 1,000 different companies that are offering 1,000 different things, and each of them have their own booth. The virtual experience is set up just like that, to where you can host that many people. I think with Zoom, Zoom they will work with you in increasing that capacity. But once you get into that 500 range, things can kind of get weird with Zoom, especially when you talk about breakout rooms and different things like that. But yeah, capacity that's not really an issue once we find out what the scope of work is, because there are platforms that allow, to how many other people we do need to service.
Okay. So the sky is the limit.
Yes, ma'am.
Basically. Okay. All right. So I won't ask you about cost, because it's really not a fair question, because cost is really predicated on what the demands of the customer are. But I'm more concerned about the production. I mean, some people don't have any in-house expertise, and we just can't figure it out, how to put the graphics here or there, or just we can't figure it out, right? So do you do full-blown production, soup to nuts, for those folks who just don't have an in-house team? Or is it, do you start at a certain point and tell me where you start and where you end, what you can deliver?
Okay, Kim, if you would allow me, I'd like to speak to this as well.
Okay, real quick though, just because Dominic used the phrase soup to nuts, I was actually writing website copy the other night, and it's on our website, and I had to explain that to my 5 and 11-year-old what soup to nuts meant. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the sweetest fish thing, Kima.
Right. So no, in terms of regardless of the scale, we are that type of company to where we will literally handle everything, 100% of it, whether that's from pre-planning, registration, to hosting, anything of that nature, to if you want us to come in and actually assist, to say, hey, this is what we're using Zoom. We just want you guys to be able to come in, kind of integrate your system with ours, and then take it from there. Like I said, a lot of times that kind of happens with nonprofits and the faith-based industry, just because of, like you said, the price and the budget concerns. When there can be a budget restriction, it's a little easier on both parties for us to kind of work with, integrate the two systems together, versus like the work we're doing with the CDC and CDC Prevention and AIDS United, to say, hey, we're going to manage everything from start to finish, and all you guys really need to do is just register, show up, and tell us who needs to be where at what time, because we understand that can be difficult. Even with Zoom, like now you're using a virtual background and it looks great. I can assure you, you are in the 1 percentile of people
I like
who
to
are
be in
able
1%.
right, to use a virtual background and it looks presentable, which is the issue a lot of people run into, because they don't understand there's lighting that's involved, and the type of camera you're using, and whether or not your computer or whatever device you're using is even able to handle that type of bandwidth. So that's where we say, hey, Let us help us help you by making your life a whole lot easier, and leave all of those nuts and bolts and all of those difficult things to us from a production standpoint. And we give you a time, a date, be here this time, and you won't have anything else to worry about.
That is fabulous, because that has been, as we produced events last year, our first time doing it, we used a big meeting convention group, and they couldn't give us virtual backgrounds. And so we had no control over what it looked like in the background. It just was scary, right? And so then the second time, couldn't control backgrounds, but it was a platform designed just for us, and it worked a lot better. But, meeting somewhere in the middle where I have some more control and can brand it and make it look uniform is important to us.
Right.
Okay, so I'm glad that you all are showcasing this today, because I saw you as a completely different company. You've done some branding for us in the past, some, logos and some, design work, but I didn't realize you were in this space, and there's so much opportunity with our clients to be able to present you as a production house, full service production house. So really happy we're having this conversation. VK, do you have any questions coming in from the field that we haven't covered already?
Yes, we do. We had one that came in through the Q&A feature, and that is to the team. Can you please talk to us about best practices with hosting hybrid events?
That sounds like an Elton Benjamin question.
I was gonna let you guys handle everything.
You can't go to sleep, Elton.
Repeat the question just one more time.
Sure. Can you talk to us about best practices of hosting hybrid events?
Okay. I think it's of course we're building a new structure of we've been virtual for probably about a year now. And then I think it's important for people to remember that we are virtual when they're doing these events, because you'll lean into doing stuff that you thought you could do, but you really can't do when you're virtual. I think the learning curve is the approach process where we sit down and we say, okay, tell us all these things that are going to happen. All the things that's going to happen in your presentation. Are we going to go to video? How many videos do you have? Has that person used the correct audio? And all those key small details that we weren't forced to think about when we had somebody else, audio or somebody else technician there to work with us. So we try to give all those points of little things that people don't think about when it comes to virtuality, to bridge that transition and that presentation to make it be the best that it can be, I think.
And if you don't mind, I did wanted to tag on to what Elton said. When they're saying hybrid, are you referring to a mix of live and virtual?
Yes.
Or are you saying solely? Okay.
That's a mixture.
Okay. So, because
it's tough. It's like going live or streaming everything that you're doing.
Right. So,
So a technician of everything if you don't know.
Right. So so an example of this would be remote conferencing we did for Golden Leaf Foundation in North Carolina. It's part of the end of their program graduation. So that was a hybrid conference where we had a panel. We had moderators actually on site. So we were able to manage that. So we didn't leave that to chance. We had an opportunity to come on site, social distance and all of that, making sure we followed all of the guidelines. But we managed that part, multiple camera setups and all of those things. We were still able to take that and, just not to be technical, but take that feed, plug it into the system and still bring in all of these other, because we had graduates that had to speak. The actual CEO and president, he was not in person. So he had to give his keynote. So we actually were able to bring him into the system. And then some of the former participants that wanted to speak to the graduating participants, we had to bring them into the system. So again, those best practices really come out in the pre-planning. There are little things just about lighting, camera, video, audio that I think are standard regardless of whether it's hybrid, regardless of whether it's live. But the main thing, to Elton's point, is remembering that virtual is virtual. And so you have to exercise a little bit more patience. I tell everyone the worst thing you can do is panic when something goes wrong. It's not a matter of if something goes wrong, and that's not to scare anybody. Technology is technology. There will be some sort of glitch at some point, whether it's, hey, my mic got muted, or my video is not showing up, or this is happening. Just, hey, take a deep breath. That's why we have things in place to say, okay, let's cut, let's do this, let's go there, just so the audience, they don't even know, okay, well, everything's still running smooth. We didn't know there was chaos actually going on, backstage, quote unquote, other concerts.
That's your job. That's right.
That's our job
good.
to make sure
that's your job. That's good.
To make sure, so that's why I wanted to make sure when they said hybrid, are you talking about a mix? Because Elton can attest, even from a faith-based standpoint, we do that every week, multiple times a week, that hybrid experience. And I can assure you, every different week presents its own different sets of challenges that you just have to mitigate and say, we keep coming back to the table. What went wrong? How can we make it better? How can we prevent it the next time? And just keep that train rolling.
Sounds great. Fantastic. Thank you for explaining that. We're about to close out. So Kima, I'm going to give you the last word to close us out with the type of customer that you're looking for. If you could share that with our audience.
Sure. Again, thank you for the opportunity. This was wonderful. So the type of customer that we're looking for is anyone who is looking to elevate whether it's their live feed, stream, if it's a video that we can record and present later to your audience. Because for us, that looks like anyone from Walt and Elton were just talking about what they do for some of the churches in the area, right? So it could be a church. We do a lot of work with higher education institutions. And then of course your B2B and B2C. So we're looking for anybody who's looking to take their video productions to the next level. We would love to work with you. And yeah, let's talk.
All right, sounds good. And how do we get in contact with you?
You can visit us online at thefirmmedia.com, or you could always give me a call. I love to talk to people in person. My number is 919-723-7538.
There you have it, folks. Say the name of the company, because I always mutilate it. Go ahead.
Brandilly.
Brandilly, named after your wife, correct?
Yeah, you remember that story, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, fantastic, gentlemen. It has been a pleasure to have you. To our audience, if you are interested in creating a VCB, which is a virtual capability briefing, where you can share your story with potential customers, one-to-many, email us at info@cvmsdc.org. That's info@cvmsdc.org. And I encourage each of you to visit our website on a regular basis so that you can tune in to our operating events, as well as save the date, April 13th and 14th, for our annual meeting and pro forum. We will be sharing information on how we did in 2020, what's happening in 2021. We'll have guest speakers from our NMSDC organization. We'll hear from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on what's going on economically and why supplier diversity is important and makes an economic impact. So I look forward to seeing each of you there. Look forward to seeing each of you at our upcoming webinars. And that is a wrap, folks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.